Alright, so the FedEx driver, I think it was FedEx, maybe UPS, was very kind to deliver these lovely boxes from Wilwood, our friends in California. We're going to be focusing on this box. This is the 13-inch Wilwood 6-piston caliper kit for, I think it fits actually 65 through 68 Mustangs. Essentially this is designed to go on V8 drum spindles, so all the pieces inside are going to mount up to the existing factory Ford spindle and convert it to disc brake. So we'll kind of get into the project as far as building it, and we're going to build the assembly for the front brakes on the bench, as we're a little limited on space for that project. So we have the spindles, and then we'll build up the hubs, the rotors, calipers, get it all on the spindle, and that should make it nice and easy to get set up on the Mustang in the shop. And then underneath here, these are our rear disc brakes. These are designed for a big bearing. It's a late big bearing Ford 9-inch. 4-piston calipers. I think they're about 12.7-inch rotors, and then it has a manual parking brake as well. We'll actually be taking these over to the shop so that we can do the build right on the rear end, as that's already put in the car. So yeah, we'll cut over to the bench here and we can start the assembly process, and then we'll check back in with the progress as we get through the build. So we've got some of the assembly done on the Wilwood kit for the 65 Mustang, or for our 65 Mustang. Start off with this. It's a 2-piece rotor, so it has aluminum hub, and then you have to assemble the actual rotor to it. I think it has about 13 of these little hex bolts you have to put in. They have Loctite and everything, and they're all down to a specific inch-pound setting. But pretty straightforward assembly. Just have to be a little patient as you thread everything together. But really pleased with the look. These, I opted for the slotted rotor, and they're really nicely vented as well. Having the billet hub obviously reduces some unsprung weight, which is nice. Then over here we have the hub assemblies. So kind of as I mentioned, It's using the 60s drum brake spindle. So this is just the original Ford one. And then, yeah, it uses basically a bracket system that just bolts onto that. This being the caliper bracket, along with some shims just to align the caliper. And then it has this really nice billet hub right here. The hub takes a little bit of assembly. You have to put the bearings inner and outer in, pack it with grease, wheel studs, etc. The only real thing to note with this is and really the only other original piece other than the spindle is the nut that goes on the end of the spindle. Beyond that, everything seems to be supplied by Wilwood. But really pleased with it so far. It's taken a little bit of time just to go through the instructions, but pretty straightforward. And then finally we've got the calipers. These basically, how you see them right now, are exactly how they came out of the box from Wilwood. I haven't done anything with them yet. The next steps we're going to be taking is to assemble basically the rotors onto the hubs and then put the calipers on with the pads in. That's just for a mock-up to make sure everything clears in case we have to shim anything. But again, this is really nice. It's lightweight aluminum. You can see all the pistons inside. So pretty pleased with the quality from the kit. So yeah, so far really good. Looking forward to getting this assembled. So we'll get on with that, and then we'll check back in once we have these as final assemblies. All right. Well, we're going to start off with getting the pads into the 6-piston calipers. So basically in here we just have little spring steel tabs that the pistons, or not the pistons, the pads will ride against. So we need to just get some grease on that. So just have your regular kind of brake grease. We will just put a nice thin layer of that on there, and this is just to stop any squealing under braking. It just allows the pads to travel. So I'm going to do this on both calipers. The nice thing is, because these are all new, this goes nice and quickly and you don't get super dirty, which is a positive. It's a good noise.
And if you want to see an example of super dirty, you should check out our other brake video on the X308 Jag XJR, where my hands got filthy doing old brakes.
We'll post a link to that up here. Alright, so that's grease on those tabs. So now we're going to move over to the actual brake pads, and we're just going to put a thin coating across the back using the same grease. Again, this is just really to minimize any potential risk of squealing, because no one likes squealing brakes. I think. And we can try and install this one as a test, but it should just slide right into the caliper like so. Yep, so that went in pretty nice. Do this one. I'm pretty pleased with everything that's come from Wilwood so far. It all just has worked, and as much as it was a little daunting as a kit when I opened the box, every single piece was accounted for, nothing was missing, and it's just taken a few hours of careful assembly, but not bad, especially for the value. So there you have it as far as the actual pad seated. I'm going to get on and do the other caliper now, and we'll put the retaining bars on the top. and get on with some assembly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited to see the final product with this. I think it's gonna look pretty good on the car, and at least from everything I've read, these brakes do a fantastic job of slowing the car down. There we go, so that's seated. And we're just gonna put these retaining bars that come with the caliper in. Basically, these just stop the pad from jumping out the top. So they just seat in here, go across like so. And we'll kind of tighten these up a little bit later, as this is a mock-up. But once they're done, we'll get this seated down flush against the back side of the caliper. All right, well, we got a set of calipers set up. So we're going to move on to getting a rotor onto the hub now. Basically, these hubs, they have a set of these little screws, 3 of them, and they have to seat into these little holes on the hubs. There's 1, 2, 3. They don't appear to be evenly spaced, so we have to just make sure that we get this aligned correctly, and also want to make sure we have the right rotation for the rotor. They have a directional arrow. So with that, I think I'm actually holding the wrong one for this, so I'm going to switch it over. Alright, so basically I think we do one of these. Yep. As you can see, these have all lined up. So we're going to get one of these seated in now. I think Wilwood says to use 85 inch-pounds. Again, we're just doing a mock-up right now, so we'll get these snugged up a little bit later once we're happy with all the tolerances and everything. But this will keep the rotor where it needs to go. So, pretty straightforward. Give it a little lean. Definitely like the way these things look. Alright, so the next step is getting a caliper on. The instructions have to actually put these 3 shims. They're provided. It says that's your baseline, so we're just going to slide these on the bracket, and I guess we'll find out if everything fits. And we would also have a directional arrow on the caliper, so you can kind of see a little arrow here, and that also matches the rotation that you see on the brake rotor as well. So let's see if these will fit for us. I think I'm fighting gravity a little bit. There she goes. Oh, there, nice. Reminds me of the Jag video. Just gotta coax them on a little bit. But I think thereabouts you have it. Let me do this real quick so we can keep it elevated. There you go. So I think the only last step, if I can find them, is we just have the retaining washers and nuts for the caliper, which seem pretty nice. You just go on like this, if I can do it. Might need my handy socket for that one. Oh, there it goes. All right, nice. There we go. So we'll just do these up finger tight for now. Again, just to inspect the clearance and test it. But there you have it. So your Wilwood 6-piston setup for a 65 Mustang, I think, through 68. But pretty pleased with this. I'll spin it around real quick so you can see from behind. So very clean setup. Kit comes with braided lines. They just go straight in here. We have those over at the shop, so we'll mess around with that once we get these on the car. But I'm gonna get on with the other one. But we basically have our front brakes together, and definitely looking forward to trying these out. All right, so the assembly is complete. We have the rotors, the calipers, everything mounted on the spindle. Really kind of pleased how it turned out. As you can see, it's pretty close tolerances, but they do give you shims between the caliper and the hub. We've tested everything manually, obviously just at slow speeds, and it looks just fine. You can kind of see the pads are packed in here and greased. And yeah, really pleased with kind of how these turned out. I think total time, we probably put 2 or 3 hours into building these, taking our time and mocking things up along the way. Once we get these on the car, we'll probably, these little guys, they require Loctites, we'll get that done, and we'll set the bearing adjustment correctly once they're on the car. Right now they're just kind of done, you know, by feel. But yeah, overall really pleased with this. And yeah, let us know what you think. If you have any questions about the kit, we can certainly answer them, as we've now gone through the build ourselves, but have a suspicion this is really gonna improve the braking characteristics on the 65. So yeah, I think the next video we'll do, at least on the brake topic, will be getting these mounted on the front, and then also probably start the process of getting the rear brake kit on. But anyway, let us know what you think, and thanks for watching.